Excuse me. So here we are. It's Saturday morning. It is 11 a.m. I'm telling you everything you already know. Welcome to our story time for this week. You have to forgive my voice, and oh, you are kidding me. Can you still see me,
Rosemary,
Chris?
I can still see you and I can still hear you.
Oh my goodness.
Is it you've lost the screen?
I've totally lost everything. Something else has come up
So
that
some
I
kind of a
get back
notification
into.
has blocked your screen?
Yeah, I don't know how to get back in now.
Well, if I would say just look at this place you would normally look and we can see you and we can hear you just fine.
Well, wait a minute here. Let's do that. There. It's like, all right. Technology will be the death of me. Excuse me. So, yes, if you're wondering, are you seeing an apparition in behind me, floating behind me? That is my daughter. So it isn't an apparition at all. It's or is it? Anyway, so here we are. So it is the 10th of September. We have a beautiful sunny day here in New York City. Um, I'm not quite sure what the temperature is, but I think it's warm today. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think it's warm today, and so yes. So I'm not sure quite how I'm going to do with story time with my voice because every time I talk too much, I cough. But I'm going to have a little go at it. But if the story is a short one, it's a short one. We'll just have to fill it in with all of your questions and your comments. So get your fingers ready to ask questions and make comments about anything at all that you like, preferably about the subject that we love and know so well. So, excuse me. So, before we begin, sorry. First of all, I'd like to say good morning to Grey Eagle, who is standing to my right side. And second of all, I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary.
I thought
It
one
looks
horrible
like we
minute.
have a lot of people. It looks like we have a lot of people already logged in.
Good. So I think what I think might be a really appropriate thing to do this morning because I'm, as you can all hear, I'm struggling to talk for any particular length of time. So instead of a story time this morning, I think what we should do is to talk about the event that happened this week, that of course is very close to me, and all you Brits out there, and all of you who have been at some point or another members of the Commonwealth, which basically means that the Queen was head of, I think she is even now, I'm not sure she's head of Australia and New Zealand, but she is something to do with still to do with Australia and New Zealand. So maybe somebody can let me know later. Not only is my voice going, my chest is having a struggle this morning, and obviously my brain is. I've lost it a little bit because my brain isn't working quite as well as it normally would. But so I think instead of story time, we will talk a little bit about the events that happened, and I'd love to have your opinions. Uh, I'd love to have your opinion on the Queen. If you've got anything to say, good or bad, try not to be too negative, please. We don't like negativity on this show, but good or bad, or if you've got any comments to make, anything at all, we'll be get your fingers ready because I can't talk this much. Right, so for those of you who are wondering what it is I'm talking about, if you have been somewhere in hibernation and have not poked your head out until this morning, that would be the only way you would not know that the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning queen in the British history, I might say, um, she passed a few days ago, and her son Charles, who we affectionately call Charlie, King Charles. He is now King Charles because the moment, this is an interesting thing I find. The moment the reigning monarch dies, instantly the next in line becomes the reigning monarch. There's no time or space between. Once once one has taken his or her last breath, the other one takes the breath of the new king or queen, or in this particular instance, the king. And so immediately the queen dies, we have King Charles III, and so it's interesting because for all of my life, because the Queen of England was the reigning monarch for 80 something years. She was 20, wait a minute, she was 22 when she became queen. Can you imagine becoming queen at 22 years of age? I mean, you barely know anything. However, she was prepared all of her life, from being born, as has Charles been prepared all of his life for that moment when he then wears the crown. One wondered at one point whether poor old Charlie would ever become king because his mother hung on to that crown for so long. And who knows the whys and wherefores of that. But I am thrilled, I'm going to tell you. I know that a lot of people perhaps wonder about Charles, or he's had some bad press over the years. Um, but I actually think he's going to make a really fantastic king. I think it's poor old Charlie has had to wait so long for this. I'm so thrilled and excited for him that he is finally doing the job that he was meant to do from the moment of his birth. I was watching a show on TV the other day, and some silly woman said, "Do you think he's ready for this?" And I'm thinking, that poor old Charlie's been ready since he was sort of in leading strings, let's say. Yes, of course he's ready. That's what he's been trained for. That's what he's been trained to do. All of his life, he has known that one day, unless he died before his mother gave up the throne, that one day he would be king. So here we are, and here we have him as king, which is, I think, it's a fantastic thing. And for the first time ever in my life, and look how old I am. For the first time ever in my life, I'm able to say, God save the king, as opposed to always having said, God save the queen. I think it's for a lot of people in Britain, and a lot of people around the world who keep up with the royal family. I think it's going to be a huge change, and perhaps somewhat of a difficult change for some people. Of course, all of you listening into this show, that I do not believe that we die. So good old Queen Elizabeth II she's not wearing a crown anymore. I'm sure of that. And please don't think, because I'm taking this, you think I might be taking it lightly. Of course, I'm not taking it lightly. But um, excuse me, I think there's some humour to be had here, because when we die, we can't take our jewels, can we? We can't take our fine robes and our fine silks. We can't take anything except us. And I'm pretty sure that she did, the Queen did, to the best of her ability, the best that she could do. A lot of people also think that the monarchy, the king or the queen, uh, in my country anyway, they think that they make the policies or they make the decisions, or if for whatever reason, if the politicians or the sort of pass a law, they think somehow the Queen is responsible or should be held responsible, but that's not the case at all. And it hasn't been the case for many years, hundreds of years. So the monarchy is, they do a fabulous job, I think. I'm amazed that I'm saying this because I'm not particularly a royalist. I don't particularly care for all of the royal family, but I do like King Charles. How about that? So I'm saying that on air, and I am publicly wishing him the very best. I mean, why wouldn't I? I hope that he has a long reign. Uh, Maybe not too long. He's 73, I think. Uh, he's got to give it up at some point and let new blood come in. But I do think we should, be happy for him that he finally has managed to wear that crown. And I know that will wear it, first of all, proudly. And I know that he will, I'm absolutely certain he's going to wear it honorably too. I mean, I think he's a great person. So, Chris, let's have not necessarily with the royals or with all of that stuff, but let's have some comments and questions, and let's make this show about what people are thinking and feeling at this moment in time.
Absolutely, Rosemary. So, in the beginning, as we came on, Tracy said it was cloudy and a sad few days in England.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark was saying, I've been glued to the telly since Her Majesty's passing. And Judith
Well,
said, many tears for the Queen. However, she's having a wonderful time right now.
well, I love these comments and keep them coming, please. But I have to tell you that I have not shed one tear for the Queen. I think she had an amazing life, a phenomenal life. I mean, imagine all of the places that she went to all over the world. And I think that I don't need to be tearful about it. I don't need to be tearful about the fact that we no longer have a queen because, uh, truthfully, we have a king now. And I think that that's something that we should be excited about, and that's something we should support wholeheartedly. When I say I'm not crying for the Queen, don't think I'm hard hearted about that. I just think she had a fantastic and a wonderful life, and good for her. I'm pretty sure she's doing okay now. And so my support and all of my excitement goes towards, can I say it again? Yes, let's say it again. King Charles III. Wow. Imagine that, being a King Charles III. Yes. So obviously he's got big shoes to fill. Obviously he's got, people are going to be watching him. People are going to have beady eyes on him for quite a while. I know that he will come up to scratch. I totally believe in him. Okay, Chris, keep going.
All right. Judith says, we Yanks loved her too. Rhonda's saying, the beautiful, such an icon. She will be missed. Cheryl's saying, I wouldn't know what to say about the Queen, except she seemed like a very sweet soul.
I, I'm not sure
Um,
that sweet. I'm not sure that sweet covers it. I laugh when people make that same remark about, "Oh, Rosemary's so sweet." No, no, you can't be. Well, I guess every now and again I'm sweet to my grandson, of course, but the Queen. I'm pretty sure that I'm speaking for so many people here. I mean, at 22 years old, she was wearing the crown. What a burden for her. She had to be tough, and she is still, even though she's now in the spirit world, she's still very tough, and and I'm pretty sure, as we all have done in our lives, made a trillion mistakes over the years. She's, let me think. She's human. That's what she is. She's a human being living on this earth, a spiritual being in her humanness, making a trillion mistakes as we all do, and now just enjoying. Can you imagine the burdens that she had put upon her, and the strain that was put upon her must have affected her, must have affected her family. For those of you who don't know or want to know more, you should read. You should read. Let's say it again. You should read King Charles' book. Charlie, wrote the Duke of whatever he was, wrote a book, talked about his life, talked about his childhood, his beginnings, and boy, oh boy, did he have a tough time. So my sympathies and my well wishes go out to him absolutely. And so I think it's a fantastic. It's sort of a whole new era, and I think the British public, although grieving, absolutely, as you know, as we do when we lose someone that we love, and after all, she was the head of the monarchy for whatever how many 80 something years, I think it was. Being the head of the monarchy, and most of us not knowing anything any different than the Queen being the Queen and being, the one who lived in Buckingham Palace. And when we talked about the royals and at Christmas time, it was always the Queen's speech and so on. And I'm dying to see, not quite dying, you know what I mean? I'm excited to see what Charlie's going to be saying at Christmas time. Will he make a King's speech or not? Maybe he'll change things around. Because I know that one of the things that he does want to do is to trim back the royal family. That doesn't mean he wants to get rid of them all. He's not going to behead everybody. He's not going to be. We're not going to have a Henry VIII out there who's beheading anybody who gets in his way. But when he means to trim down, that means so many people are being paid by the British public and through British taxes that he feels shouldn't be. So we're going to see some changes in that way as well. So I'm excited, and I'll bet I won't agree with all of the changes he makes, but I'll bet I'll agree with many of them of the changes that he makes, and that's the same with everyone, isn't it? Okay, keep going, Chris.
Well, it is amazing to think that he's standing by her bedside and he, quote, loses her. She passes into the spirit world. And then immediately he now has to wear this mantle and show a public face and go visit places to, show himself as the new leader, all while he's grieving. That's tremendous burden for any individual.
As I've said, Chris, this is what he was born to do. He has not known anything else. He was groomed to do it from being very small, probably straight out of the cradle. He was born and instructed and guided, and he has had no other choice than to behave in so many ways the way that he does in public. What you see of him in private, we don't see. But I think he's a very sensitive person and a very caring person. But he's had, not only he's had many years to prepare, he's had many months to prepare because his mother didn't just die suddenly out of the blue. This has been going on now for months and months and months, if not longer than that. So he's had lots of time to prepare and lots of time to do his grieving in private, and he will still continue to do that, I'm sure. But let's not speak for him. Let's not assume anything about him because he's his own person, and or we can judge our opinions on what we see of him publicly. But I know that he is a very sensitive person, and I think he will have his own way of dealing with things. But he's doing already a phenomenal job. I don't know if you saw any of you, when he went to the palace and he was shaking hands with people. That's never happened before. It's the royals were apart from anyone else. You wouldn't dare approach them. You wouldn't dare reach your hand out and expect a handshake. And the amount of people with cameras and phones and taking videos and things in his face, I have to say, that would never have happened, ever. And it's an invasion. But at the same time, I understand why people want to do it. They want to have a record of the momentous occasion. Let's see what anybody else has to say out there, Chris.
Judith is saying God save the king. Sounds odd.
Sounds what?
Odd.
Sounds odd. I think it sounds spectacular. I'm really, because for many people who are listening in today, you probably don't even know the national anthem. If you go to my Instagram, you'll have a little taste of it because I put something up on Instagram and we're playing a little part of the national anthem. And for all of my life, the national anthem begins, God save our gracious Queen. Now we're going to have to change it. Will we use our gracious King or will we use something different altogether? I don't know. See what happens. I think it's so exciting now, and we know that the Queen is safe. She's well. I'm sure that her angels were with her. I'm sure that. I'm pretty sure she's not wearing a crown anymore, and I'm pretty sure that nobody's bowing to her anymore. I have to check that. Don't take that as a given. I have to check that with Gregor later. He's laughing at me. I have to check that later with Gregor. We are all of us spiritual beings having a human experience, and each one of us has a different, perhaps similar, but different experience than anyone else, which is what makes this human race so amazing. But yeah, I'm happy to sing "God Save the King." Yeah, Chris.
Dean is saying the Queen was like losing my own mother. She was
Oh,
just like my mother. I have mostly British DNA, so definitely have ties.
oh, that's great, Queen. That's great, Dean. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the like losing the Queen was like losing your mother? Wow, you must have had a real emotional tie and a real emotional connection to the Queen. Then that's amazing, really amazing. I'm going to sneeze any minute now. Keep the comments and questions coming.
Well, being that the Queen reminds him of his own mother. So that's
Yes.
what it's about.
Okay.
And Karen is saying, good morning, everyone. Yes, Canada is also Commonwealth, so she is also our queen. I think Charles will be very well prepared.
I
And
hope
then
so. Well,
Mark
I
is
know so.
saying,
I'm sorry.
all
Keep
right,
going.
then
I'm having a moment here.
Mark is saying this may be ironic. This past Tuesday, I was getting ready for work and was near my kitchen window, and I had a mind vision, and I saw a white hearse clearly in my mind's eye. I peeked out the window to see if I would literally see one. As I ventured to work, I was on the highway. Just to the left of me, I looked, and there it was, a white hearse with casket and flowers in tow. Would this have been a premonition of Her Majesty's passing?
I don't know, darling, but I like the story and thank you for sharing it. I don't know if it was a premonition, possibly.
Judith saying, I do believe that when Prince Philip died, Queen Elizabeth started declining. That is not unusual for couples who have been together and loved one another for years.
Yes, Judith, I agree with you, but let's do a little reality check here. She was 93 years old, so I think she's been declining for a few years, just not showing it. And you're probably right. When she lost her husband, that might have sort of put her a little bit over the edge there. But she was 93 years old. I mean, wow, that's amazing to me. That's amazing.
All right, Cheryl saying, I'm wondering if the Queen is just another soul on the other side.
Well, why wouldn't she be? Because she was always just another soul when she was here and living on this earth, as we are all simply souls living our life and living our life's purpose. Some of us have greater burdens than others. You can live in a palace and you can wear a crown and you can put on all your pretty jewels and you can have people bowing and scraping at you, or you can live in a little hovel somewhere out in the wilds of beyond, and with no luxuries whatsoever. But a soul is a soul. Doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. doesn't matter at all. What matters, I think, is whether you are decent and a loving and a kind soul, learning and growing, or whether you're a mean and sort of a nasty person. We all have choices. I don't think it's a question of the Queen being any more special as a soul than anyone else. In fact, and this is not about the Queen, by the way, but there are people with many, many riches who really are so mean and so awful and really not nice people. And then there are people who have nothing at all who would give away whatever they have to someone else because they are kind and generous and loving. Let me see, who would be the more important soul in that case? For me, if I'm going to judge on importance, I would say the kind and loving, whether rich or poor.
All right. Gary has something to say.
Go for it, Gary.
You Brits are lucky to have King Charles.
You Brits.
If us Yanks lose our leader, we get Camilla Harris.
Oh, Gary. Yes, well, well, there might be a lot of people who think, you know, uh, and again, you're talking about losing the leader. The Queen is the head of, but not the leader. That's why we have a government. That's why we have the government to make the rules and regulations. Um, a lot of people think that the Queen is the leader of the country, or now, in fact, King Charles III. I'll say it again. How many times have I said it now? A lot of people think that the king or the queen of a country is the leader, but most countries in the world now have a king or a queen. They do. They also have a government, and unless you're living in a dictatorship of some kind, well, then the kings and queens don't necessarily make the rules and regulations. So, we do. Also, we have the advantage perhaps of knowing years ahead of time, not a couple of years, but years ahead of time, who's going to be the heir to the throne, as opposed to the next. That's my daughter in the background there, as opposed to who is going to be, the political leader. And I try very hard not to get into politics, but right now I do have to shake my head and wonder where where is the head of the American people? What are you thinking? What were you thinking? That's all I say. Anyway, thanks, Gary, for that. So keep going, Chris.
Annika says, I saw a lovely poem on Facebook posted about how Prince Philip came to take her hand and took took her with him. So lovely, and I do believe he did come to collect his beloved wife.
Well, I don't know. I have not had the privilege of speaking with the Queen. Um, I might at some point have the privilege of speaking with the Queen, and at that time, if I am able to, and if it's not too private a session, I'll let you know. Did he? Did Prince Philip come to take the Queen's hand? It's possible. It's likely. But the truth again, let's look at it. The truth again is we don't actually know the personal lives of our kings and queens and our royalty. So we don't quite honestly know what kind of relationship they did have. I know that it was a little fraught in the beginning. For those of you who don't know much about the royals, you might want to check it all out. It's fascinating. They're fascinating. They're a fascinating family. Okay, Chris, keep going with our questions and comments. Excuse me.
Lorraine says it's so magical to watch the royals.
Well, yes, it's all that pomp and circumstance, isn't it? I mean, uh, I don't know if some of you might want to watch. There are lots of films out there, I'm sure on YouTube. You can you can actually see the Queen's coronation when she was actually crowned Queen. And of course, we've still got to, we're waiting for the coronation when the king is officially crowned king. But if you look at when the Queen was when she went to a coronation, she rode in a carriage that was so stunning and so startling and so beautiful, really, really ornate. And I know that there are lots of people who criticise and but I think it's something that with all of us Brits and all of us who, and as Karen said earlier on in Canada, that it's not just the Queen that belongs to us; it's all the pomp and circumstance. And I think we're so lucky to be able to have had that, and to be able to have seen that, and even in our modern times, we can still see all of that fantastic pomp and circumstance. And I know, there have been politicians in the past who've tried to get rid of it all, but the British people, we don't want to get rid of it all. I think I'm speaking for the whole and not necessarily every single person. But if there are any Brits out there, if you disagree with me, come on, get your fingers on the button, type out your comments and questions. But we love the fact that we are one of the very, very few countries in the entire world that can have these unbelievable things on display for people to see, that go back in time and in history. It's a phenomenal legacy, I think, for the British people, and we should be proud of that fact. And you know, uh, I for one, am against getting rid of the royals in any shape or form, because it's not that I think they're fabulous, because honestly, some of them are not. But the thing that's fabulous is the history and the effort and the energy and the time and the creativeness of people who have. I mean, take a look at the carriage. Go take a look at the carriage that I've been talking about. It's stunning. And look at the crowns and look at the jewels. I mean, wow, yes. Why should they have plenty when so many people in the country have less? Well, what do you want them to do then? Sell all of that stuff? Or shall we just look at it, have it there for us so that we can go view it, that people around the world can go and view how it was in times past, and I'm pleased to say how it is in times still today, and hopefully in the future too.
Judith says about Charles, yes, he cares about the earth and Mother Nature. I'm a fan of that.
Well, I think he cares about the environment. He cares about buildings and where built. I mean, how often have we had even a politician who would say the environment is the most important thing? What a shame that is, that we don't have politicians who stand up and say, okay, we've got to be more careful about the way that we live, and we've got to be more careful about what we want as our legacy for our children. And I'm in New York City, and you walk down the streets, and all you see is cars and honking and exhaust fumes, and yeah, I mean, where's where's nature? Where are the blooms? Where are the trees? Where are the fields? Where are the animals? Where is nature in all of this? It's a concrete jungle. That's what it is. And most cities are like that, concrete jungles. And I know that we need them, and I know that we have them, and I know that people love living in them. I know that. But I think we should also be very, very aware of pollution and polluting the air. We should be very aware of what these concrete jungles are doing to our environment, to the atmosphere, and we should be paying attention to that. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that good old Charlie's going to be making that one of his important things, that his important messages for everyone. Just we need to breathe good air again in so many ways. Chris.
Mark says I laughed so much as I watched the Queen drive off in a Rolls Royce as the news comments to her said, she doesn't have a license, nor does she have any passports. They said she is queen. Her signature is on all things, including, and she was talented behind the wheel and under the hood.
Yes, yes, she was. Okay, keep going.
Lorraine says, I always admired her strength taking on this tremendous responsibility.
Well, you do realize that she really had very little choice, if any. Unfortunately, again, our royals, you have to understand that from the moment they take a breath into this world, they are groomed, they are guided, not necessarily by good people, remember, not necessarily by people who know what they're doing, but they are guided, they are steered, and they are forced into this almost artificial life, because it is in so many ways an artificial life. They never have to go, they never have to say, oh, it's the weekend, I better do my cleaning. They never have to do that, do they? They never have to say toilets need to be scrubbed. They never have to, do any of those things. So in so many ways, it's an artificial life, but it's also, even though it might seem like a fantasy, it is a reality. It's a certain reality, and I think that we should really, sort of enjoy this side of our humanness, and this side of, because we're not the only country. Britain isn't the only country that has a king or a queen, but I think we're the only country, perhaps, in the world where we're able to laugh and have fun at the expense of the king and queen, as well as to honour them and to revere them. And that's what we do. We're Brits. Our sense of humour extends beyond everything. We have no problem whatsoever making fun of, well, anyone, actually. Chris.
Cheryl has a question unrelated to the royals. Are we taking those questions now or are we
Yes, that's
continuing with
right.
the theme?
Yes, right.
Okay. So Cheryl's saying, my sister's doctors have handed her over to hospice care for her cancer. She was feeling fine until the last chemo she got made her sick. Should she get a second opinion or some natural CBD oils? Somehow, I don't think there's nothing more they can try.
I think that when you have a serious problem, a serious health problem, I think it's always a really, really good idea to get a second opinion. Why wouldn't you? I also think that trying natural remedies and trying natural therapies is a really good thing to do as long as you know what you're doing. But I also think that you should always, if you don't have a doctor you can trust, change your doctor. If you don't, if you don't trust your health carer, change your health carer if you can. But I think no matter whether you try natural therapies, whether you try, try going a different route, you should always maintain a connection with your doctor, with your healthcare provider, because if you just simply talk to them and say, this isn't working for me, can you suggest something else? I'm sure they will absolutely help you. And if they can't help you personally, they should be able to find you somebody who should, who could.
Karen says, I heard on TV today that we will hear God Save the King done differently. So, in that moment, I thought and tried to sing it in my head, and it did feel odd.
Well, yes, but you'll get used to it. And why shouldn't we have something new and exciting? This is causing a dilemma in my head because, of course, growing up all of my life singing the national anthem, you know, you know it by heart. Now, are you telling me we've got to learn something new? Oh, golly, gosh, it gets older as you get older, it gets harder to learn new things. But I'm happy to learn a new national anthem and to be supportive of our royals, and especially, going to say it again, King Charles III.
Let's see. Annika says, I am a romantic, so I like to believe that our beloveds come and collect us when it is our time.
I agree with you. I'm not necessarily romantic. Well, I am a bit, but that's not why I would think that our loved ones come and collect us. I know absolutely that when we pass into the spirit world, our loved ones who have gone before us are there surrounding us, They help sometimes to carry us. Sometimes they hold our hand and guide us into the spirit world. It's a phenomenal thing. Our loved ones are there to help us, to guide us over. Definitely.
Andrew says, I understand we each have our own guides while on the earth plane. What about the Queen's guides? I'm assuming once we pass, our guides are disbanded and allocated to someone else, or dot dot dot.
Oh, who's asking this?
This is Andrew.
Andrew, my darling Andrew. I do not believe that we all have a spirit guide. In fact, I believe just the opposite. I think that very few people have their spirit guides. However, I do believe that our family, our loved ones in the spirit world, come to guide us, come to steer us, are there with us and help us and guide us in that way. Um, I don't feel that there's any disbanding needed. It makes it sound like we've all got a whole group of spirit guides, and then when we die, they off they go. No, that's no, darling. That's not how it works. That's not how I perceive it anyway. Um, Very few people have a spirit guide. Those who do are people who work, as I do, full time in this spiritual realm. Are very much aware, very much uh, wanting to learn and to grow, but also to share their gifts with others. And for those of us who do this, we do need a spirit guide sometimes to help us and to guide us, as Grey Eagle is helping and guiding me, even as I'm talking to you about this. And when I pass into the spirit world, I'm actually asking Grey Eagle as I'm talking to you, will we disband afterwards? And he's laughing. I'm not going to get rid of him, and he's not going to get rid of me. So we're stuck no matter what. And I'm happy for that. Chris.
Judith says, thank God the antiquities were saved during World War II.
Yes, absolutely. But you do know that so many were lost. Um, there's a great movie. I actually watched it the other day. I'm trying to think who was in that movie. I want to say Meryl Streep, but I know I'm wrong. Where it was called The Painting, or The Gold Painting, or something, and it was about a picture that ended up. I think it all went to the Dutch courts, and who did it belong to, and so on and so forth. And fortunately, it was finally returned to the family, who happened to be a family in England who owned this painting. They were living in England at the time, but they had to go through so many hoops to retrieve the property that was obviously theirs from the very beginning, painted by the aunt of the lady who finally got the painting, painted by her, intended and painted, and actually was given to the whoever it was, the the person who had to fight for it to get it back. I wish I could remember now the movie, but yeah, I mean, so many of our treasures, so many in every country in the world, so many treasures were lost, so many were stolen, and we know that in certain houses around the world, or palaces, or whatever, vaults, or whatever, there are people still hanging on to those treasures that don't rightly belong to them, but they're going to keep them anyway. But yes, thank goodness we did not in England have our treasures stolen in the way that so many countries did.
Annika says, in my home country, the Netherlands, our king also, at the appropriate moments, uses the golden carriage. Also, our royal family is loved, and they also make every effort to connect with, quote, their people.
Isn't that fantastic? I love that. I think that's fantastic. Um, who knew, my darling, when I gave you a hug a couple of weeks ago, that we would be now talking about this subject just 2 weeks later? Yes, it's 2 weeks since I did my lovely event in Connecticut, and we had such a blast. And thank you, Annika, for coming and saying hello to me. And yes, I bet I enjoyed the hug more than you did.
All right. Then Mary Grace is on. Mary Grace is saying, "It took me a minute to figure out how to share. I just want you, Rosemary, to know that you have always been my spiritual queen."
Oh, wow. Geez, thank you so very much. How nice of you to say that. Um, there are times I have to tell you see, I'm a Brit, we've got sense of humour. There are times that I feel like a queen. I feel like a queen when I'm holding my grandson. I feel like a queen when I'm snuggled up in bed, as I did last night with him and Apache the puppy. I feel perhaps not quite so much like a queen, but I feel that I have a very special and a very wonderful life. But it's so nice of you to say that. Should I do I need a crown now? Should I get I don't think so. But anyway, thank you so much for that. That's very sweet of you to say.
Andrew's saying Runnymede and Magna Carta by King John in 1215 is something us Brits can be proud of.
Oh yes, without a doubt. And I will say, all this talk of the royals and all the rest of it, you know, um, there are so many movies, Mary Queen of Scots, boy oh boy, I mean that's an amazing movie. There's so many fabulous movies, when you go back and you look at the history of England and look at all the kings and the queens and all of the fighting and and all of the stuff that went on with the royals. I don't think I'd be a royal. Thank goodness I was never picked to be a royal. I don't think I'd want to be a royal for anything, but the histories are fascinating. They are really fascinating, incredible, and I mean, I'm trying to think who it was who it went in my head, and now it's gone out again. Cromwell tried to destroy the royals, tried to destroy the royal family, burned people alive in their palaces and in their different places. I mean, you know, thank goodness we don't have that anymore, but still it's fascinating, really, really fascinating to look at the British history and to see so many things that we can be proud of, so many things that we can't be proud of either. But we can be generally, I think, we can be proud of our royals. Certainly, the more modern day royals, absolutely, without a doubt, we can be proud of them. And I am proud of. Shall I say it again? So I just love saying it. This morning, how many times have I said it? I've lost count. We can certainly be proud of our King Charles III. Yes, we can.
All right. Karen's saying, "I watched a video this morning about the Queen, and it was about her humor, which is what I've heard from some, saying she was quite witty and charmingly funny in her way. And she commented about the carriage being quite uncomfortable."
Yes, yes, looks great. Not such a great conveyance. You wouldn't want to drive in the carriage for very long, but I can assure you, yeah, hard seats, very uncomfortable, and no springs. So yeah. See, there's a downside to everything, but there's also an upside to everything. Chris.
Andrew's saying, "As we are talking about the royals, would it be too much or okay to ask if you see the future for Harry and Meghan being okay?"
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there, shall we? No, let's not go but thank you for asking, Andrew. And I know that there are people who are, again, we're all curious, aren't we? We all have a certain curiosity about the royals, but we do some things we just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see them play out.
Julia is saying, "Thank you for this beautiful Queen's special. Lots of love from Julia from the Netherlands."
Oh, Julia, thank you so much. I know that you watch us frequently. We love having you here, as we love having everybody here who's a regular. And We want you to spread the news that we are here every Saturday and we are here every Thursday morning. And excuse me, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to last this morning, but how much time do we have left, Chris?
10 minutes.
Okay, let's keep going then. Jeez, I can't believe I've managed to do this. Sorry.
I can't believe it either, but you're doing well at the moment.
I'm going to tell you a little story. Oh, it's story time. Yes, it's Saturday morning story
There we
time.
go.
I will tell you a little story. Well, it's not really a story, but it happens to be true that I can literally be feeling like I'm on my deathbed, at my last, no energy, absolutely worn out, whatever it's with, whether I have bronchitis or pneumonia, or every winter I seem to get bronchial pneumonia, and I can be literally on my last legs, uh, feeling that I cannot do one more thing or say one more thing, and then I'm either due to appear at an event, or I'm due to do a radio show or a TV show. I basically, what I'm saying is, then I need to be on. And I was going to speak to the St Jude's, giving a lecture at St Jude's a few years ago, and I was so ill, not only uh, chesty and so on, but throwing up and right up to the last half hour before I was due to be standing in front of an audience. People were coming and saying, "Shall we cancel it? What shall we do?" Somehow or another, I managed to get out of bed, uh, get dressed, put on my makeup. Goodness knows what it looked like, and went down into this hall, and there were several hundred people there. There were a lot and lot of people there, and they were all doctors, nurses, or medical professionals. You'd think they'd be able to see that I was sick, wouldn't you? But aside from my voice, which wasn't so healthy, and aside from the fact that I wasn't quite as bubbly as I normally would be, but they wouldn't know that because this was the first time they saw me. I did 3 hours with them. I did a book signing with them. I asked questions. We had a question time, and then they had to mark my performance, so to speak. They were all given a form, and you had to put whether you liked it or not. And I got the highest mark ever at that point in one of these St Jude's events. Uh, my point is that when you need to find the energy to do something, you'll do it. You'll find it somehow or another. And that has happened to me so many times. Of course, after the event, I went right back to bed and crashed completely. And then I was sick for longer, probably, because I'd forced myself up into that situation of being able to work. But Gregor never lets me down in those circumstances. He always manages to pick me up and, come on, we can do this. So once we've done this, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm probably going back to bed. All right, keep going, Chris.
Mary Grace is asking, what is the best way to strengthen my communication more clearly with my angels and my aunt, who is my guide?
It's a simple, very simple listen. So all you have to do is listen. You've got to listen more. You've got to be more attentive. My suggestion would be take 10 to 15 minutes of every day, sit in a chair, just be very quiet, very still. I'm sorry we've got rattling in the background. Um, be very quiet, very still. Don't ask for a sign. Just simply say, I'm here for you. If you want to come around me, I'd love to have you come around me. But this is my time to spend with you. If you want to spend it with me, that's great. If you don't, I understand. And then you've got to be quiet. You've got to be quiet in your mind. You've not got to say, give me a sign, or not 3 times. You're not asking anything of them. You're just being there for them, hoping they'll be with you, which I'm sure they will be, and listen and pay attention. Not just listening with your ears, listening with your eyes, listening with every one of your five senses. When you attune your five senses, then your sixth sense is able to kick in, to be, just to be absolutely um, in tune. It's called raising your level of consciousness. So you raise your level of consciousness and you sit quietly, you listen, you watch, whatever you, in whatever way you can listen, pay attention and trust in what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're feeling. But you need to do that on a daily basis. Just 10 or 15 minutes every day. That's all it takes. And I promise you, if you do that, my darling, you will find you'll become more in tune. You'll become more attuned to them, and they will be able to get through to you. All right, Chris.
Julia says, I'm sorry not to understand because I thought every person has a guardian angel. Now I realize the angel is not always there. That makes me feel very lonely.
Oh, darling. Well, our angels are always around us when we need them, and our loved ones in the spirit world are always there when we need them. And I don't want you to try not to feel too lonely, although I have to say, people say to me, well, what is it like for you seeing all these people in the spirit world? Doesn't it get a bit crowded? Don't you get a bit tired of it? Don't you want to just wish that they go away? Now, for my part, I look at you, all of you who don't see so much, who don't see, who don't sense in that same way. And I look at you and I think, what is it like for you? Uh, don't you get lonely? Isn't it? Don't you find it difficult not to be able to just reach out and ask a question? So I know and I sympathise. I do understand with you, but try the 10 minutes a day thing. You'll find your family will gather around you, that you have so many people and your angels. I did not say we did not have angels. I said we do not everyone has a spirit guide. So you do have your angels around you, my sweetheart, and you do have your family around you. Just find time, if you can, on a daily basis to listen to them. And I promise you, if you do that, you won't feel lonely ever again.
All right, Rosemary, last comment. This is from Susan. Like all my age, I grew up with the Queen. In fact, Elizabeth, as is my middle name. When Mom's children wanted to compliment her, we would say, You are as beautiful as the Queen. She was 9 years older than Queen Elizabeth. I was 9 years older than Princess Diana. Yes, we in Canada do love them.
Well, I think, darling, that is the perfect end to this show because I couldn't have put it any better. So, that said, we shall be back next Thursday morning. Excuse me. We shall be back next Thursday morning with our the spirit world sees all. Oh gosh, I'm losing it again. And thank you for indulging me because I feel as if I've indulged myself by talking about the royals today. But I think it's something that we should do more often, especially when we lose people who are close to us or important to us. And we know that so many people around the world feel that this is an important event, a very sad event in so many ways, but very joyful event in so many ways. And I have to go for the joy of it more than the sadness of it because I know the Queen now no longer has the burden of the crown. And I know that she will be with her family, those she loves and who care for her. And I know that the good old Charlie boy, he shall wear the crown, and I'm pretty sure that King Charles III will wear the crown with pride, with honour, and I'm hoping with a great deal of joy also. So thank you all for joining me today. So until I see you all again, thanks, Chris, for doing a great job as usual as our wonderful facilitator. And of course, it goes without saying that I'm going to thank Craig. Absolutely excuse me, if I can last this long, I'm going to say thank you to Grey Eagle, as always, for being there for us. Again, thank you, everybody, for watching. Until I see you again, please, please, please have a very, very blessed rest of the day, everyone. And have a very blessed rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.